Welcome back, everybody, to the AGE Open for February, heading into round 3. That's right, I'm Mitchell Lizzie here with Sam O'Byrne. What's up, man?
Dude,
it's been a minute.
It has been a minute indeed, and I could not be more thrilled to be here.
I'm stoked. Man, I tell you what, can I just say, like, it is a great time to be a flesh and blood enthusiast. Heavy Hitters has hit hard, and we've already seen, like, a huge shake-up in the metagame, I think. I'd even just walking the tables. A huge diversity of decks. Let's talk about it a little bit more. Let's hit the button over here and bam! Have a look at that. My girl up there in the large photo, as opposed to being a footnote. Can I get a hell yeah for Dory out there?
Hell yeah!
That's
Taking a look at Dory, man. Look at that with 6 total players here in like a 70-person open. I mean, 6 doesn't sound like an enormous number, but when you look at the incredible diversity of heroes, you talk about the big photo. That's the one I wanted to spotlight coming into this meta breakdown. I mean, we got Victor over there and the golden enjoyer as well. The two blonde people.
That's right. Yeah,
top and bottom.
All of them from Solana rising up here just quietly. Look, hopefully we can catch a sort of Dory game later on. There's a few different looks to that list, and jump into some Victor gaming as well, as Victor's been doing really well. We do have I think at least 2 Victors towards the top tables right now. To answer Mansand's question earlier, he said, what's Charles on? Charles is playing Oldham, basically. He's playing Oldham. He is playing Oldham. Oldham, who hasn't quite had his hair grayed yet. He's on Bravo, and it definitely is looks like a slow, like definitely fatigue based look, so very much in his wheelhouse. And I mean, when the US national champion comes calling, you better believe he's going to be throwing some haymakers. So he's sitting towards the top tables, and I hope to feature him a little bit later on. Yeah, there's a Betsy out there and a few other things, but I think it's worth pointing out how quickly Kayo, Kasai, and Victor all have sort of drastically increased representation here over the last week or so.
Absolutely. 3 of the new heroes from Heavy Heroes are in our top 6 decks here at the AGE Open. And that's not just because they're new and fun. It's because they're powerful and do incredibly interesting and unique things. I mean, we've all seen what Kayo can do in the pilot of someone like Yuki Lee Bender. I know a lot of players out there are trying to achieve similar success. But those Kasai lists are looking nice. The gameplay I've seen from Victor looks kind of disgusting. But again, I'm really excited to see what Dorinthia can do looking into the matchups if she can avoid some of those Bravos and some of those Victors and start to feast on some of these other less block-oriented heroes.
Yeah, I think that's the concern for her a lot of the time, is that she's going to lose every clash. So, when you go into matchups, like for Victor, for example, it's a little bit hard to like really pace him on value. Some Dory players are trying to bring a sort of axe strategy into that matchup, and still doesn't really guarantee you a win, because Miller's Grindstone is really annoying. Both playing off small hands, and it's definitely threatening to blow up a lot of your deck here. So metagame's in a great place. We want to feature one of our players who had a fantastic showing at our last Arcane Games and Events Open Series at Zayne Johnson. San Diego had 3 players, I think, in the top 8, if not top 4, if I'm not mistaken. Zayne has obviously been a fixture. We've seen him on a ton of heroes in the past, Viserai, for example. Today, he's playing Azalea, so he's made the trek out here. Azalea, there's a lot of hype around her. There's a lot of hubbub sort of around what that hero can do now. Not heavily represented today, but I think she's definitely a good spot right now.
There was a lot of tier list discourse out there on the internet, and a lot of people had Azalea up top, and then you had a lot of people saying Azalea wasn't very good. I don't know. Zayne, I know I talked to him. He said, I wanted to play Azalea because I got my playset of the beautiful extended art Ravenous Rabbles. He's on to 2-0 in this tournament so far, so the Rabbles are taking him a long way, and I think we should go ahead and check out this next match. We have got Zayne Johnson on Azalea, ace in the hole, versus Nicholas Tagg on the new Armed and Dangerous Brute Kayo himself. So, I mean, we're probably going to be here for a short time, not a long time.
Still going to be a good time,
not a long time. There it is. Let's go ahead and take a look at this game. Zayne, you see that little number 4 next to Zayne? Walk me through that, Mr. Ubershout.
Yeah, absolutely.
What are we looking at there?
I mean, Zayne is currently 4th on circuit points in our AGE sort of tournament circuit. And again, as we get towards the end of the year, our Players' Championship attendance will be decided by your circuit point standing here. So that's something we definitely want to keep an eye on. You can see it over here. This is where we stand right now in our Players' Championship standing. Zayne, obviously, with 20 points coming out of our previous event. Obviously, we saw Alan earlier on. We featured him. Alan Chavarin, obviously, always a feature here. So this is what these players are fighting for, as a Players' Championship now not only offers, obviously, some great prize money, but a gold foil and a PTI. So there's never been more to play for here in the AGE series. So here we have Zayne, of course, flipping pretty standard stuff here, of course. We do see... I have seen a Sandscour Azalea out there with New Horizon. And for Nicholas, again, Apex Bonebreaker. And, of course, that headpiece is something we're going to be looking at. An incredibly powerful card in Scowling Fleshbag.
Yeah, I'm curious to see exactly how the Scowling Fleshbag is going to be utilized. Is it just going to be trying to stop a powerful on-hit? Other than something like a Rain Razors, it's going to be tough to, kind of snipe a card with the Scowling that's going to be super relevant. We're going to go ahead and start this off, it looks like, with that yellow Agile windup. Make the agility, make the might. I also, check out that chess piece over there, the Heart and Cross Strap. That probably tells you a little bit about the game plan that Nicholas has coming into this game.
Yeah, again, Nicholas' list does feature a final Spring Tunic here, but I think he knows it's going to be go time pretty quickly. Can he afford to wait 3 turns to find that one resource of value, or does he just need those 2 resources on a certain turn to try and blow Zayne over? So on turn 0, I mean, Nicholas probably hoping to go, maybe hoping to go second in this kind of matchup here, but Zayne will have the opportunity to block this single claw, maybe filter the hand a little bit here. A red Read the Glide Path and a Lace card there thrown in front.
Yeah, a couple 2 blocks. And, those are 2 very powerful, 0 for 3 effects, especially that Inertia on the Lace with Inertia there. But for Zayne, you may be looking for a resource card, maybe trying to find a way to activate that Death Dealer. I remember that's something Justin Koo, calling Taipei champion, talked about. Is you always want to make sure that you're able to utilize your Death Dealer as much as possible. People aren't drawn off Death Dealer enough, he said. But look at this. It's going to be a swing big to follow up. We're going to get some damage across for sure. A couple 2 blocks in the hand there for Zayne, going to mean he's going to take some damage on this turn 0.
Yeah, again, I mean, that's that sort of density of 2 blocks in the deck. As soon as Nicholas sees like a 2-card block on a claw, he's like, oh, we can actually leak a little bit of damage here. That 3, keep that in the back of your minds. I also think the player referred to, was it Justin Koo? Was that his name? Yeah, I think he was recently victorious in Manila as
100%,
well.
100%.
There, so yeah.
11-0 on Victor.
Absolutely filthy stuff. That's right. I've seen the deck tech there, so that's a great player to take some hints from going forward. See, here's Zayne, throws out, okay, so we are lacing this right up, and a Sleep Dart just yeeted from the hand.
Absolutely. 11 spot coming in, 2 Frailty tokens representing, which would make that Mandible Claw attack for a measly little, I guess 2 with the Might token if it's the first attack plus the agility. But 11 damage is nothing to stop at. Those are 3 powerful on-hit effects, 2 Frailty tokens and the Sleep Dart, meaning KO. Those 5s would no longer be 6s, meaning those Might tokens would not be created. That's not something Nicholas wants to see, but it might be something he's priced into doing. He doesn't want to, he was not able to arsenal a card. He basically traded 3 damage on turn 0 to have a 5-card hand on this turn, which means he doesn't really probably want to do a lot of blocking.
Don't forget, that also means that some of those 5s in the KO's deck are actually 5s.
Yeah, exactly.
For the purpose of discarding here. So it's not even just that Might token generation. It also means that, if you want to Wild Ride or you want to get a bigger Bear Fangs or any of those effects won't be activated here. So really interesting little inclusion here. And Zayne just making sure Nicholas knows what is at stake here as its attack comes in. Again, you can afford to... I see like a Bear Fangs, I think, in the hand right there. Like a Command and Conquer, if I'm not mistaken.
And I think a Pulping, yeah. So there's a 2 block, a 3 block, and 2 no blocks. So Nicholas here looks like he might just be priced into taking a couple Frailties, and he's heading to bed.
Yeah, Zayne Johnson playing the Sandman in this particular round here. A couple of cards away, and we'll tuck an Arsenal card in. Nicholas now obviously knows he's going to be under the effect of that Sleep Dart. And again, it's quite relevant, right, if it's just a 5 at the top here. But again, such a high density of natural 6s still in this KO deck here that you probably will still want to go for it. Bearing in mind, of course, we still have an agility token in play. So opening with something like a Bear Fangs is completely reasonable. You still feel fairly good about getting your value on that card. We'll see what the plan is here.
Got the agility, got the might, did head down to 29 after that first attack. Sometimes in these KO decks, you're just priced into these decisions. If you're running the Pulpings, you're running the Bear Fangs, they're such powerfully offensive statted cards. But man, if you're facing down a deck with a lot of on-hits like Azalea, you're going to really have to find the right time for that Flesh Bag, the Bone Breaker, and the Scabskin Leathers to get into the red zone, or else things are going to be difficult. And talk about the other piece of equipment.
It's time.
Go ahead and activate the Heart and Cross Strap.
Okay, Heart and Cross Strap here, and that is a 7-powered Go Again Command and Conquer, eat your heart out range of players. That is brutal, and that's one of the scariest things that can be sort of assisted by this extra token generation. Comes in at a break point, threatens Arsenal, forget about your defense reactions. Oh, by the way, there'll be more after this. Very quickly, shout out to Captain Talon in the chat, friend of mine. Heading out to his first battle heart of this, so good luck, mate. Were you on Dromai still? Man, he could have picked up Dory, bro. Could have picked up Dory.
This is a very cool line here from Nicholas. I mean, feeling the effects of that sleep dart, realizing that the draws and the discards aren't going to be as powerful on this turn because of all the 6s that are now probably 5s in the deck. But that Heart and Cross Trap, one good turn deserves another. A 7-power CNC with Go Again. Doesn't matter about the rest of Kayo's hero ability because this is just so threatening, and we're utilizing the agility token and the might token created on our turn 0 just from that agile windup. So Kayo going to do some powerful things and showing why that Heart and Cross Trap's in the deck.
Zayne, I'd say block with armor, but well, that's not really an option for it. Could have picked Dory as well. Now I think of it. Having a fridge would be nice, but this is a very tough decision. Command and Conquer so often is just pointed at you, for like a 2-card 6 with a non-hit off a small hand. It's a good way to stay in the tempo race if you've been forced to block. But Nicholas is able to string far more together on a turn like this. Like going into this with a Bare Fangs would be absolutely abominable for Zayne to face down here. Perhaps, I guess, like the frailties, it's not the kind of on-hit you're looking for, right? I mean, you definitely, if you're worried about that sort of agility token getting used, like you'd hope to have like a red in the ledger or something like that, a way to compact these otherwise big turns. But we are not blocking. Don't worry about it. Keep your cards. And away goes that drill shot.
Yeah, I was wondering if Zayne was just going to decide, listen, 1-card loss is a little more easy to swallow than throwing 3 cards in front of this Command and Conquer and turning my turn into something that is pretty negligible against this KO deck. So we're going to see how Nicholas wants to follow that up here. As Zayne just said, sure, give me the 7. I'll lose my card. Show me what else you got.
Yeah, Bare Fangs. Pretty good. Let's see what ends up being discarded from the hand. It is going to be a 6 at minimum.
Well, let's see if the sleep dart becomes relevant here. We're gonna lose. Oh, the
That's
red
a pulping.
So that's plenty. 8 more damage coming from this KO deck.
Yep. Just quietly, also like a might token generated in the back from that pulping, going into the sleep dart. Of course, yeah, no might token, but still 8 damage after 7, 15 with a pretty juicy arsenal disruption there. So add 3 value to the turn.
Yeah, I think if you're Nicholas here, you got to feel happy that the sleep dart wasn't more impactful, right? Because it could have been significantly more disruptive, but that CNC doesn't care about 5s or 6s. It doesn't care about drawing and discarding, and the Bare Fangs still hit a natural 6. So sleep dart, I think it's a really cool inclusion for these Azalea decks, but for Zayne, unfortunately, he's sitting all the way down at 28 after that turn after blocking with 2 cards. Let's see what he can string together from here. Just 2 cards and no arsenal after that CNC.
That's no arsenal. That's even more concerning, right? Our Bolton Shot feels fine here. We're going to have a look at the top. Bolton Shot going to be thrown straight on out here. So Nicholas probably not too worried about a larger turn from Zayne. I mean, depending on the texture of this hand, you may be priced into letting this one go through to the keeper. I think I see 2 blues, though. Another Bare Fangs. That's not too shabby.
No agility for Nicholas, so he's going to have to find another way to get Go Again unless he has an instant speed discard of an agile windup. All-Star and Limited turns out pretty dang good and constructed as well. This is just going to be 4 damage from the Bolton Shot here. Both players sitting sub-30 already on these first couple turns.
I guess, yeah, I mean, okay, Reckless Swing comes out. That's totally reasonable. Nicholas no longer slept, so a discard of a 6 here will also gain him some extra value. Again, the Bolton Shot in and of itself, that looks like a Assault and Battery.
Mm-hmm.
So we have 3 of those blue in the deck. I think they're 5s, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if that's the blue, it'll be 5 turned into 6 because of KO. You get to beat chest, making agility by discarding a 6. Again, KO gets all this extra consistency with that hero power. Let's see what he's able to throw down. Clearly didn't need the blue in the hand.
No, my token generated from that?
No, it's on your own action phase.
There you go.
Yeah. So let's see. Looks like it's going to be a Scabskins roll without...
Oh, that's 30!
The 6! You see Zayne just kind of give a little nod. Sometimes that's all you can do. Listen, these KO... Again, I said there's no agility token here, but for Nicholas, he's going to have to find another way to go again, and it looks like that 6 might not be as terrible, and the Cast Bones is going to get drawn and discarded, so no +2 and no might token. That is a -3, like you're saying, a -3 value loss. It happened to me 3 times in Sealed in Hartford, and my opponent was like, oh, you missed 6 points of damage.
You hate to see it. That's right. Not only you're not getting the +2, you're not getting a might token generated. And we know that Nicholas probably doesn't have the ability to make use of 3 action points on a turn like this. So still, Zayne probably feeling a little at least more comfortable about that. Nicholas was just hoping for that kind of, the turn that threatens, anywhere from sort of 12 to 15 damage off a smaller hand. Scabskins would have enabled that. But Zayne still has asked a question. At what point do I have to really start prioritizing my life total here? Remember, he did throw 2 cards at the Bare Fangs last turn. Looks like a Codex of Frailty there. Pretty unmistakable treatment on that card.
Nicholas here going to have to try to find a way to get some agility token generation, or else these Scabskin Leathers are going to be some of the only way to get go again without cards like the Wild Rides and the Pulping. And that Cast Bones hit here, that's another way to get agility if you're able to find 6 Might tokens and the agility. And, you know, even if you've made 1 off your KO, then all you need is 5, because Cast Bones just checks for 6.
It's
Cast Bone doesn't need to
doesn't
make
need
6.
6 off the Cast Bones, right? And you also know, with a reasonable amount of certainty, what you're drawing into. And then once you draw your hand up, you also know like what the top 2 are.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you know if you're going to be, risking missing out on a 6 discard off the top or something like that. So the amount of information that it garners you, plus the, it's the Codex of Frailty of heavy hitters for me.
Yeah.
In terms of just how incredibly above rate that card is.
It's a powerful card for sure. Zayne going to go ahead and take the 6 here.
Oh, we're casting the bones anyway.
Let's go ahead into a Cast Bone. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 6, folks.
Oh, man.
That's 6.
Roll 6s on your Scabskins, flip 6 power attacks.
Wow.
How about a crap ton of Might tokens and a free agility to boot here? Now Zayne knows exactly what's coming, and I'm going to give it to you straight, folks. It ain't good.
It ain't good. You got a little shout out to another member of our chat there saying, listen, because we drew and discarded the Cast Bones, that's a 6. That's a non-6 that did not get revealed to the Cast Bone that was played. So I think, listen, you lost 3 points of value on the Bear Fangs, but you gain an enormous amount of value from the single agility token created off the back of the Cast Bones played. So let's see, is Zayne able to find something like a red in the ledger to make this agility significantly less scary? But those 6 Might tokens are still going to make whatever 1 attack would get thrown.
That's right. I mean,
that's feeling good.
That's the reality of Kayo right now being an incredible mid-range deck, because even on those small turns, the single attacks you send, it's never just a 2-card 6, right? That is the absolute floor, and it's almost impossible for Kayo to reach that. He's almost always above that, whether it's a Swing Big, a Bear Fangs, and there's Might tokens in the mix. So, he can go tall, he can go wide, he can go wherever he needs to. Right now, it's for the throat.
Knock the Death Whistle here. Going to go ahead and set the top of Zayne's arsenal. He's in an interesting position because that Rain Razors is a nice card to power up something like Bolt and Shots, but it looks like, we're just going to go ahead and grab the red in the ledger, which means we're not going to be able to activate the Death Dealer after playing the Rain Razors, because then we'll draw the red in the ledger. If we want to dominate the red in the ledger, it's going to have to stay on the top of the deck. So let's see if he has some more pumps, plus that tunic counter.
New players at home following along with no problem, I'm sure. But yeah, essentially like sending a non-arrow up to the top can be a scary sort of proposition. But Zayne is just on damage control right now. But Nicholas, for all we know, doesn't really care about going any wider. I mean, he's presenting minimum 12 damage off 1 attack action next turn, and it's likely, as it often is for Brute, to be more than that. So I would be afraid. And if Nicholas has also followed the time-honored ritual of making sure only the Reckless swings in his deck are whiteboarded, I'd have to go and shake his hand.
You're going to go Seek and Destroy into Premeditate here. We have a tunic counter if we would like to go ahead and utilize that for the red in the ledger. This is going to be dominated off of the Azalea ability. Zayne just kind of shortcutted. It went to the top of the deck and then was thrown into the arsenal from the Azalea. So Seek and Destroy going to threaten to destroy any arsenal that Nick would want to create. The Premeditate going to threaten the Ponder generation. Yeah. But the red in the ledger, the real kicker here is that is 11 damage, and if it hits, only 1 action for Nicholas on the turn. So again, that agility token not going to be relevant. Those Might tokens certainly will be.
How bad do you feel as Nicholas if you just kind of preserve life here, give 2 cards, and then send 1 large attack action after Zayne? Because you probably at this point realize that the agility token is not that important. You probably can't leverage it. You can't really cover this fully and do anything. Well, he's answered for me. That's 4 block of armor thrown in front straight away, and probably a 6 alongside that Apex Bone Breaker.
Yeah, so it looks like he might just be wanting to get an additional Might if he has to block with the Apex Bone Breaker. Let's definitely put a 6 in front of it. Turn our, it's funny because you'd only get to do 1 action, but those 7 Might tokens, it's another whole card's worth of value of Might tokens.
So it's like you still maintain, turn after turn, it's still above 12 points of value each time. That's the consistency that can be offered to you by Kayo. So even on your off turns, you're basically still hitting for a billion.
When you're hitting through red in the ledger for maybe 13 here, it's got to feel like it could be a lot worse. It looks like it's going to be the Skull Crack donated to the block. Let's just get another Might token off that Apex Bone Breaker.
So how about Claw for 10? That would be worst case scenario for Nicholas. All right, take a bit of damage here. Nicholas already with that life lead here. Zayne will have the opportunity, though, to ponder. And I guess that's relevant, right, given what was set to the top of the deck.
Yeah, absolutely. And we get to choose if we want to put that Codex in the hand or whatever we draw into our arsenal.
Is it not the Rain Razors placed there?
The Rain Razors with the arsenal, so that's on the bottom now from the Azalea.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Looks like, yeah, it might be, I think, maybe an infecting shot heading to the arsenal just as a potential, throwback. Again, for Zayne, small victories, that Seek and Destroy means that whatever Nicholas throws, nothing's going to be able to be parked in the arsenal, but it's certainly going to be a big ol' attack, and Zayne's already sitting down at 20 here. Got that Wrecker Romp?
Yep.
Oh, God. Wait, is it a CNC, dude? Does he have it? He revealed a CNC. And Zayne knows he has a CNC from the cast bones. The question is, did Nick draw it here, and does he want to send it for 13?
Yeah, this is going to have more pop than a gender reveal party with pyrotechnics in a dry field. It is going to be absolutely filthy. That is gross.
Goodness.
That is what Lubu always dreamed of, everybody.
Yeah. That's pretty gnarly here. This is going to be CNC for 13. You can see Zayne is just having trouble even quite comprehending what's happening to him. This is going to be so much damage that Zayne has to deal with. He can't even quite realize exactly the damage dice that's required. We need to use 2 for this sucker.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, so Zayne obviously, really deliberated on what card to send in there. And you might have been right. It might have been an infecting shot based on the little watermark in the text area here. So Zayne's like, well, you know what? I'm playing Flesh and Blood now. I don't know what you're doing. I think Nicholas is pod racing. Zayne is putting cards in his discard pile.
Yeah, listen, it's certainly not good to just block 11 of that and lose the arsenal anyway. So that red infecting shot is going to go ahead and head it to the graveyard here. Tunica's going to go to 1, and poor Zayne hasn't really had much choice in this game. Nicholas has been firing, other than that single Bear Fane's miss, which ended up not even really being a miss at all. He's been firing on all cylinders.
Here's that read the glide path. Zayne getting to opt as a result of that. Sending it to the bottom instead. Okay, we are, oh my goodness, we're lacing with a lot of blood rot here, and then it will be a Codex of Frailty.
+9 from all those pumps, plus an additional 2 and 2 for both the blood rots if it hits. And here's a good drill shot here. This is threatening all of those equipment pieces, but the question is it threatening enough for Nicholas to do anything but say, send me the bill, and try to throw significantly more than 7 back at Zayne's?
I mean, is this just like the optimal choice for a 0-cost arrow that has a breakpoint by default? You just feel like this is probably one of the best to go for if you're trying to force damage? Because I think the flesh bag is blade break anyway, so Nicholas can, and he's really more concerned about their value. Yeah, you can maybe turn off that extra block on the scabs or bone break here, so you can sort of consider 1 extra point of value being on the table.
Yeah, Zayne most likely going to buy pretty much all that armor block, especially because thanks to the Codex, Nicholas does have to discard a card here, so he's going to only have 3 cards left in hand. Going to discard a 3 block, which leads me to believe you have to imagine he's got some blocking cards in here if he wants to put anything in front of this. 13 for Zayne as well, so 13 into 13, but this one's got 2 blood rots attached and the drill shot effect as well.
Yeah, and how interested is Kayo in leaving cards left in his hand after the end of his turn? So you may as well make this a 19 power attack in your mind. It's nice, very nice. Not really enough though, I think, to slow Kayo down over much.
But listen, if Nick just says, "Yeah, I will take it," that's 18 points of damage with both of those blood rots. So Nick has to think about this in some capacity, and the point of value from the drill shot onto any of these armor blocks also has to be considered.
And let's not forget the frailty, giving the -1 to the pulping coming out of Arsenal here. And now again, pulping, if that is dominated, well, she's still coming in. But, there's a lot of value on the table that's not necessarily printed on the drill shot or those pumps that can come in here. So numerically, this is a very, very big attack.
3 Sync Belows are in the list for Zayne. I was curious. We do have that Ponder token. I wonder if he brought them in for cards like Pulping. I was looking for the, what are those traps? The Fatigue Trap, the Frailty Trap. Frailty Trap and the...
Yeah, if your opponent has a lot of go again attacks, right, it's nice to inflict that.
Yeah.
What I suspect is that Zayne is running quite lean and probably can't afford to try and compete with Kayo in a mid-range context, and probably doesn't bother with the defense reacts. He probably knows, I need to race this guy and really crush him with these punishing disruptive effects. My guess is that we don't, and we there's so many situations here if Zayne gets a lead that he just doesn't want to see that sink at all. Because again, we're not dealing with these disruptive on hits, really. So Sync is just a slightly better card that blocks, but probably won't really intervene outside of the pulping situation.
And you have to find it the perfect time to get it into your arsenal to perfectly line up with your opponent's pulping. So We'll have to see if Zayne did end up grabbing them at some point. This is a very threatening arrow, though. I mean, if you're going to have to try to claw back from taking a big ol' CNC for 13, I think this is a good way to do so. This is a lot of damage that Zayne is representing if Nicholas just decides to say no blocks, and that frailty might be relevant if the pulping is what is attempted to be thrown into battle here. Let's see if we want to put the equipment in. Looks like all of it's going in.
Okay, yeah, obviously, scaling Flesh Bag, you do lose value there. Obviously not intimidating a card away, but you stick a bunch of equipment block in front here because you know you can still try and close out the game here. And again, when you have some form of evasion in your arsenal via, pulping, that is the kind of stuff that lets you close out these matches. And the fact, of course, your opponent, their deck is riddled with 2 blocks.
Absolutely. Frailty there, going to go ahead and impact this pulping if it is played on this turn. There was no 6 power attack placed with the Bone Breaker, so we're not going to get the Might token to kind of counteract that. This is going to be pulping. Let's see if we can just force a good amount of damage through. Time for a draw and a discard. Let's see if it gets the Dominate, and then if it's not defended by 2 non-equipment cards, it will also have the Go again.
That's right. So important to give it Dominate because quite often, yeah, that's a red wild, right? So this card now has Dominate and will very likely have Go again. And again, Might token created on the back there by Kayo's ability. Command and Conquer, of course, is a card that says defense reactions cannot be played to this card's chain link, and when it hits an opponent, destroy their arsenal. Kimikashi, I will be the chatbot for you. All right, so yeah, 5. Little frail of a pulping, but still packs enough of a punch here.
Zayne gonna have to decide which, if any of his cards he wants to put in front of this, or does he want to kind of see what else Nicholas can throw? How much disrupting can he do from this point forward? He's certainly, he's not the ace in the hole. He's just in the hole right now. He is down a good amount of life into Nicholas, but that was a pretty threatening arrow. He's going to get 4 more points of damage, so Nicholas, ostensibly at more like 12 unless he pitches some blues into those blood rots.
Yeah, I mean, because there's like a real question if Nicholas can have a functional turn while having to give up more than 1 card worth of pitch value to avoid this damage. I think he's quite happy to be priced into that. But that's what Zayne wants in order to race, right? That extra damage via blood rot or causing your opponent to be forced to spend to sort of break that stuff. Kayo normally makes use of every card at his disposal on turns like this. And just want to remind everybody, Nicholas gave up all his armor. So he absolutely wants to use this turn to more than likely close out the game if possible.
Yeah, I'm going to see what other, does he have something like a swing big, something?
Take it!
Yeah, look at that. Zayne says, I got you. I'll head down to 2. Show me what else you got. Any more Dominate?
Air Fangs, I think. Yep.
Draw and discard off the top. It's going to be that runner. Here's 8 damage, so you can't just put 2, 3 blocks in front of this one, Zayne.
I mean, yeah. Do you have enough 3 blocks at all, is the question. Obviously, throw the Bullseye Braces in front. Cross Rep also does block, as does the Tunic, because I don't think you're going to have much more time to make use of those here. So Zayne likely won't die here.
Certainly won't be feeling good.
I mean, I think his body language has told much of the story here. Yeah. Premeditate and the Endless Arrow being thrown in front and a point of block each on the head and chest, both of which, of course, are now destroyed.
Looks like we're going to trigger those blood rots. 2 cards left in hand and an arsenal. Nicholas down to 12.
Michael Dalton, I'm excited to put our Fatigue Bravo player on stream. Charles is performing admirably, and we'll have to feature him in the coming rounds.
Bolt and Shot, Rain Rage is a classic combo. Going to take Nicholas's health down by half unless he has something to respond here. The answer is no. We're just going to go ahead and discard an Agile Wind-Up to make an agility token in response.
What are your thoughts on the timing of that? Does it really matter when he does this?
It doesn't matter in terms of these interactions from what I understand. This Codex of Frailty, though, unless you wanted to go and grab the Agile Wind-Up that he just discarded, you could do that, of course, in response to the Codex of Frailty. So maybe Nick just making sure, I know I want to do this. Let me make sure I do it before the game progresses any farther and I don't forget. This Codex here is going to throw an Endless Arrow. That's definitely going to be relevant because you can just throw an additional 4 damage after, on your next turn. If the Endless Arrow hits, goes back to the arsenal, you can block with your entire hand and then throw the Endless Arrow again.
Yeah.
Zayne is putting up a good fight.
Presenting a breakpoint persistently when your opponent has no armor left. Yeah, we absolutely like to do that.
Question is, we've seen 1 reckless swing out of Nicholas. Zayne is sitting at 1.
No.
Are we eventually going to see a second? Pulping, though, going to be the card heading to the arsenal here, of course. That's just going to have to dominate. Yep. That's just going to close the game unless Zayne is able to find...
Even with a frailty token, right? 5 power dominate is pretty saucy. How about this? 6 with the on hit of returning back to Zayne's hand if any damage is done. That's a Blood Rush Bellow in the hand for Nicholas.
Yeah, but look at this. Looks like...
Is this a... Oh, my goodness. So... Nicholas is down to 2 cards. I mean, that forced discard, I think, from the.
Well, look at this. This is going to be the game.
Done.
This is the game. This is the Snapdragon Scalers going to put it back to hand. The Bullseye Bracers is going to put it back. Zayne is going to come in for 7. He can't block this at all.
He's absolutely
That's the game. Zayne Johnson able to just pull it out of his absolute. The rabbit has come out of the hat. I think that discard of the Agile windup might have been the difference maker there. I don't know if even the block was going to do it regardless. It's been so long since I've been watching Lexi games. I didn't even think about the Snapdragon Scalers into the Bullseye Bracers. Bullseye Bracers hasn't been back in CC with, some degree of relevancy in some time. That was unbelievable there.
The Codex discard that's absolutely filthy, right? Yes, I mean, does 2 points of block there? I mean, going back, maybe it helps you. I wondered about the timing of it, right? You can just do it at the end of your opponent's turn when you've decided if you're going to block with it or not, right? But then, that's the scariest part about Codex of Frailty is having one less card to block with when you're at such lethal life totals. And the Bullseye Braces, of course, with that pumping effect, the Rain Razors in play already. Absolutely brutal stuff. Zayne is a trooper. He dealt with an utter beating for so much of that game, but comes up with the literal silver bullet right where it matters, just as Nicholas was absolutely going to close out the game, right? Sort of pulping in Arsenal. And this is what I'm telling you, man. Like, Codex of Frailty, that card is also absolutely filthy.
That was insane. That was so wild.
Again, as is being pointed out in chat, you could have blocked that Endless for 6. You could have blocked the Endless out.
Yep.
And, denied Zayne that chance to sort of bring that back. So, I just thought that was really interesting. And the timing, I think, of the Agile discard. Normally I'm discarding it at the end of my opponent's turn quite often. So, but yeah, look, great game. And Zayne is an absolute that guy's stone cold.
Dude,
oh my goodness.
I mean, we were pretty tunneled on Zayne's having a tough time.
There's a pulping in Arsenal.
That's going to close the game. He's taking 2 singing C's. But Zayne just showing you really, it's the age-old adage, you got to play to your outs. And Zayne just sat there. He took it on the chin. He shook his head a couple times, but he did not stop playing. He did not stop thinking. And at the end of the day, he's 3-0. He has not stopped winning.
Yeah, and, that's why I understood why Nicholas wanted to throw his armor, I think, at that sort of previous turn, right? But again, you miss out on a ton of value from the scaling flashback. There's no sort of intimidate effect there, which can be relevant in these cases where you need more than just the 2 block from one of your equipment, right? You really need to get close to that 5 that you often do here. But great game, genuinely.
What an incredible game!
I mean, Azalea really has to play to her outs there. And what I think is really important about this is that she does mid-range effectively as well, right? Because she has a lot of these pumps. Even on smaller hands, she can threaten annoying on hits. The double blood rot, I think, to have that sort of big turn and threaten 19 damage off what was a smaller hand. Yeah. She can stand toe-to-toe with the damage output of Kayo and other decks that really just kind of explode here. So really fun back and forth game. Very, very quick, of course, I think. And that we've got to slow down the last couple turns, as you'd expect there. But yeah, really nice.
I think that was also such a cool representation of the power of the kind of just the classic Snapdragons off of the Rain Razors and the Endless Arrow, the Bullseye Braces. I mean, I used to play a lot of Lexi, and I was sitting there that'll be a bummer on the next turn. But I'm wait, 6 damage. Yeah, Rain Razors. Oh my God, if it hits, it gets to go back to hand. That was unbelievable. Yeah, you get in here. Dude. You get in here. Oh my goodness. Let's go. We're gonna get Zayne in. We're gonna get hear from the man himself. Yeah, we'll just rock it. Everybody here wants to hear. Everybody here just wants to say what's up, dude. Dude. We were over here that pulpin's gonna be gnarly on the next turn.
It sure would have been.
It sure would have been. He said so. Walk me through. We were talking about you got to play to your outs.
Yep.
You got to keep going even when you're taking CNCs for 7 and CNCs for 13.
13.
Yeah, but you just kept going. You threw those 2 blood rots on. You got them down low enough, and you just assembled the wombo combo at the end. So how are you feeling as those final turns were shaping up?
I really didn't think I had an out when he played the pulping to put me to 1, and I could block, and I didn't find my D-React. I was just I don't know how I win this game. I think I have to steal it with an Endless Arrow or something, and then it happened to be in that hand, so I blocked. And then he discarded the pack hunt to the
Agile
Codex.
Oh yeah. The
and then I was like, oh, that must mean he's got 3 blocks in hand. But apparently he was keeping his resource card, thinking I couldn't percent lethal. sometimes you don't respect Endless Arrow, and it comes back to get you. But,
Yeah.
oof,
Certainly comes back.
yeah.
That card is endless, especially at the end of the game. So
Sure is.
when you said you didn't think you had an out, you said you were.
I really didn't think I did, and I that's the assumption of the Azalea, where like you're pessimistic and you're like, oh, my opponent's got 3 blocks. There's no way I can win this. But sometimes you got to be like, hey, maybe they draw 2 no blocks. They're playing a lot of no blocks.
Absolutely. And I heard you just kind of mention like, I didn't bring my D-React. Did you bring the sinks in for the pulpings?
I did. I was. Like,
Okay. We were going back and forth on that.
yeah, I was hoping to see him. It's like one of those things where you don't expect Azalea to play D-Reacts, especially into a matchup like that. But it's such a math matchup where it's like just big number is good, and I'm like, this card says 4 on it. I'm not like sold that it's the way to go, but I played him.
Sure, for sure. So you're 3-0.
3-0
with Azalea.
Azalea.
I spoiled it a little bit to if there were any keen-eared listeners earlier in the stream as to the reason you played Azalea today.
Yeah.
Do you want to just tell the people at home what kind of pushed you in this direction?
The real reason I am playing Azalea today is that I got the promo Rabbles from Hartford, and I was just too excited to not play them.
Yeah.
And I had Kayo with me, and I like was gonna have to get like cards from people here. Like I needed a couple cast bones, I needed a send packing, and I was just like, I don't like that feeling of like, oh, I have to. So I was like, I'm going to bring them both. And then as I was leaving my house, I'm just like, KO, you're staying home. We're playing Azalea.
Let's go. Absolutely. So into the heavy hitters meta. Everybody's saying different things about where Azalea lands. You're certainly confident enough on the hero to bring her to this tournament.
Yeah.
There's a lot of Bravos and Victors out there.
There's a lot.
There's a lot of them. Have you played any yet? Are you just looking to just stay dodging? How do you feel into some of those more fridgy matchups?
We're dodging so far, so that's good. I did have to play Dory round 1, which is like another matchup I really don't want to see.
Mm-hmm.
There's outs, but it's your codexes do a lot of work. But there's ways to beat Guardian.
Yeah.
It's hard. The Victor is like a whole nother beast than Bravo, because Bravo you're maneuvering like how to prevent disruption or like minimize disruption, and then Victor it's kind of just play big number, kind of like my Tech Levasan game from last time.
For sure.
Just like there's disruption, of course, but you're kind of just like, I need my numbers to be as big as possible. Yeah,
for sure. So 4th seed so far after our first AGE Open last month. 4th seed moving into the next month. I have a question for you. As you look to prepare for different tournaments, because you are a mainstay on the competitive scene. You're just right on the winning in for Pro Tour Baltimore. Consistently right there in these top 8 contentions. Very strong player. So when you're preparing for something like an AGE Open, where you have a different sense of the metagame, the logos a little more. The different teams. Your Team Stroopwafel. There's Team AGE, the experience out there, right? There's all there's the other San Diego people. So like, what is the difference between preparing for a tournament like this? We have just a different sense of being steeped in the metagame, and then for something like the Pro Tour in Los Angeles coming up next month.
Yeah, I think there's a thing in SoCal where it's like you can't not respect Dromai, which is just like the baseline of like, if you're not bringing your poppers as Azalea, you're in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just knowing that Zach is in the room. He's one of the best Dromais in the world, and there's always going to be more than that. But I also know like Alan, right? He won the last event on Bravo. I know that Bravo's going to be here. I know it's an expertly piloted Bravo. So whether I think that the D-React or not D-React list is better, I'm going to have to bring the D-React list because I know that Alan will be here.
Yep.
I may or may not have to get all 3 fatigue shots out of the binder and play all of them.
How many are you on right now? You on 1 or 2?
I'm on 3.
Yeah, got it.
Flirting with the 4th one. But.
Yeah. What was that? Oh, yeah, let's talk about the metagame. That's a good little call from our producer. So this is the metagame. As you look at this, is this what you expected? Is this beyond what you expected? How many Dorinthias did you think you were going to see against the field? Is 6 too many? Is 6 too little?
Honestly, I think Dorinthia is really good. So that sounds right. I think a lot of this is more or less what I would have thought. 6 Dromai, again, we're in SoCal. You have to know that's going to show up. For Kano, you got to know that's going to show up. I actually sideboarded my whole deck for Kano because I got paired into Nick. I know Nick. He's in San Diego. He's a Kano player. And he said he's on Kayo, and I just wasn't listening very closely. I thought he said Kano, so I sided my whole deck. And he presents his deck, puts his hero down, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is the wrong board. So I had to re-sideboard, but it was all good.
Okay, that's good. I'm glad.
But yeah, this is about what I'd expect. Reinhardt being down there is a little sad, but we get it. Yeah, all the warriors are good. Bravo is still, probably the best deck. I don't know. KO is very good. Bravo does decently into him, so that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Well, Looking ahead, Pro Tour Los Angeles next month.
Sure is.
Take us as much as you can behind the curtain. You're on an esteemed team, a lot of heavy hitters.
Sure.
Yuki just took down the Battle Hardened last month.
She did.
As you learned last week.
Yeah.
As you look ahead to Pro Tour LA, what are some of the things that are going to be kicking around your head? What questions? You don't have to tell us, the process, but what questions are you hoping to answer before we get to the Pro Tour? It's in our backyard. We got to see you, throw some numbers down.
I think my first question is going to be, can I justify bringing Azalea? And one of my big criteria for picking decks is I can't have an auto loss. I know that some people are comfortable with that. They bring a deck that targets a good percentage of the metagame, and they know if it's Dromai, I just lose. I can't do that. I just mentally cannot do that. If I get paired into it round 1, I would just be so tilted. So I really want to bring a complete deck. So that's where I start, which I think a lot of my team feels the same way. I know Yuki feels the same way. We're not taking auto losses. It's just not an option. So I'm going to look from the lens of Azalea. Hey, is there an auto loss out there?
Is there?
As of now, I don't see it. I know I saw, what's his name?
Paul?
No, there's a fatigue Bravo. Charles Dunn.
Oh, Charles Dunn. Yeah.
Charles Dunn. Come to locals.
U.S. national champion. Come to locals, Charles.
He's on a fatigue Bravo. Is that an auto loss? We'll see. I haven't played a super skilled fatigue Bravo pilot.
I've heard he's pretty good.
I hear that.
Yeah, I've heard he's good.
I've played next to him twice, and I'm like, oof.
That doesn't look fun.
Let's save that pairing as long as we can. But yeah, I think that there are decks that target her. Obviously, she's fatigable. Oldham used to be, frivolous into Azalea. But that's what I'm going to be hoping for. And then if that's not good enough, then it's going to be the Brutes and the Guardians as the next place to start.
All right, Brutes and the Guardians, which is not necessarily something that everybody was expecting coming into this meta, that the Brutes were going to rise up. But when you get a Brute and a Guardian set, all of a sudden, like Azalea, like Lexi after Outsiders, the classes get better.
I know. Brutes might love to be persecuted, but maybe LSS gave him some good cards.
Maybe.
Cast
Bones is pretty good.
Cast Bones pretty good. Hitting 6 on Cast Bones is real good.
Well, Zayne, thank you for joining us. Good luck in the rest of the rounds.
Appreciate it.
We will see Zayne and all of our other incredible competitors very shortly, so don't go anywhere. We've got more Flesh and Blood from the AGE Open coming up in just a couple minutes.